How many of you are familiar with what's up on the screen? Whether it's the version on the left, the version on the right, I'm sure most of you know that this is a Scantron sheet. It's used in a lot of standardized tests and to record answers. With the current state of American education, it's near impossible to go through 13 years of public schooling and not be intimately familiar with these sheets of paper. The growth of standardized testing has led a lot of people to really question the purpose of standardized testing. Now, here's a little bit more of a difficult question. Who knows what this is? This would be the actual Scantron machine, which grades these Scantron sheets. Over time, the Scantron machine has grown to be the final arbiter in a lot of important decisions in American education. The numbers it spits out are crucial to so many decisions. However, it hasn't always been this way. It's gained a lot of power and influence over time. In 1980, only 29 states used any kind of standardized test. However, by 1998, 48 states required a standardized test in order to graduate high school. And then, in 2002, George Bush signed the controversial No Child Left Behind Act, which further increased the amount of standardized testing in American education. So now, brief overview of what I'm going to be talking about. First, why standardized testing? Why is it so popular? Why has it grown so much? And why did it become such an important part of American educational reform? Second, what are the drawbacks of standardized testing? Why might we need to rethink this process to educational reform? And finally, are there effective, plausible, implementable alternatives to standardized testing? So to the first question, why standardized testing? In one word, accountability. Standardized testing allows for a ton of data that can be measured and compared because they are standardized. The same tests and the same questions are being asked to students in different cities, different counties, even different states. And because they're all the same, you can compare that data and set hard, measurable standards. And with those standards come feedback mechanisms, whether if those standards are met. These feedback mechanisms may be barriers for students to graduate to a next grade, whether or not these students get into college, fluctuations in teacher salaries, or even funding for different kinds of schools. So, in theory, these mechanisms will propel students and teachers to perform better and reform and increase their performance over time, leading to better schools. So, why standardized testing? In one word, accountability. Everyone's on the same level and needs to get to and have goals to get to a certain level. So, what are the drawbacks of standardized testing? One of the biggest drawbacks is creativity, or lack of creativity. Standardized tests enforce a set curriculum to many different students across many different schools with different backgrounds. It cannot really harbor different academic interests. Everything must be boiled down to one test. And it is unreasonable to assume that everything in one topic can be boiled down into a 60-minute or 100-minute test. If a student wants to learn something outside of the test that's still academic, a teacher cannot really accommodate for that. Students may lose interest, and this can have adverse effects on their educational experience. And because everything is boiled down so minutely, this can lead to a large increase in pressure for these students and teachers. There's so many feedback mechanisms that are so dependent on these tests for both teachers and students. It's, again, unreasonable to assume that this amount of pressure will not have any adverse effect on the students or teachers and their performance. So what are the drawbacks of standardized testing? Narrowness, pressure, and a lack of creativity. But now, are there effective alternatives to standardized testing? Yes. And the one that I investigated over the past few months has been performance-based assessment. Performance-based assessment is predicated on the idea that instead of standardized tests, assessment should be based on performance-based tasks. Performance-based tasks are things like research projects, research papers, or even PowerPoint presentations, which can show the knowledge of a student and really reveal what they've learned and what they have chosen to learn. Performance-based assessment also emphasizes that the student choose what they're learning. And because the student can choose what they research, they will naturally be more interested and have more vigor behind what they're learning. on the teacher part, teachers then nurture this research and allow the students to really explore what they want with more interest and more emphasis on choosing what they want to learn. The students will naturally propel themselves to learn more, learn better, and teachers can then have better results. Now, I've assessed performance-based assessment through the lens of the New York Regents exam. The New York Regents exam are a series of tests that New York requires every student to take in order to graduate. These are some of the subjects of the test, and students must take and pass at least 5 of them, but are often pressured to take more. So I then studied the New York Performance Standards Consortium, which is a group of 28 schools in New York City which have an exemption, a special exemption, to those Regents exams. They are opposed to standardized testing, and these are a couple of their slogans. Instead of junior year and senior year of high schools and consortium, instead of taking these standardized tests, students instead have performance-based tasks in English, math, science, social studies, and art. And when they present these, performance-based tasks to a group of teachers and even some professionals within the field that they are presenting towards. The Wall Street Journal describes some of these presentations as dissertation-like defenses coming from juniors in high school. So, and with these performance-based tasks, these students' answers are no longer pigeonholed into A, B, C, D, or E, and they instead have more freedom to express what they learned, which is then used with this, which is a more complicated rubric that allows for a lot more room to learn. So in this system, the final arbiter, decision maker, is no longer this, but instead this. So now, let's look at some of the data for the consortium. As you can see here, coming into high school, the demographics of consortium students are pretty much identical to that of New York City as a whole. Across various demographics like racial demographics, socioeconomic demographics, the percentage of students who don't speak English as a first language, the percentage of 8th graders who are proficient in reading and writing before they get to high school, the numbers are just about the same. However, 4 years later, the numbers look a little different. The consortium graduates more students across every demographic, significantly more students across every demographic compared to the New York City average. And then even beyond high school, the consortium, many more consortium students attend college. Now, this is compared to the national average. Twice as many black students, graduates, and Hispanic graduates go to high school compared to the national average. So going back to the overview, are there effective alternatives? That is a strong yes, such as the performance-based assessment system. Now, in conclusion, can performance-based assessment be used for everyone? Sadly, that answer is a resounding no. It is unreasonable to assume that 100% of students and teachers can have the commitment, responsibility, and effort necessary to flourish in the performance-based system. Without that level of work ethic, student projects can often fall by the wayside if they don't have that natural interest to work hard for their research project, and if the teachers don't have that hard work ethic necessary, their evaluations and nurturing of research can also falter. I talked to several people involved with the New York Performance Standards Consortium about several schools that they had to kick out of their consortium. And they said that these schools did not exhibit the necessary work ethic to promote the goals of the consortium. However, this does not mean that performance-based assessment should just be discarded. Students who do want to work hard or can work hard, regardless of their prior academic background or demographics, have been shown to really have success with this performance-based system. This complex system here can really help students grow and maximize their academic potential. So at the very least, the performance-based assessment system should be seen as an alternative route to education from standardized testing. So, in the end, our friend the Scantron still has a very standard role in American education. It's not going anywhere, and it's sad, but it's necessary. But those students who are willing to put forth that extra effort should at least have the option to throw away some of the tests. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.